Good afternoon. I'm Kacie Olson, Module 4, Understanding My Community. I chose Eudora Elementary, and I say chose because I work currently statewide and I'm not in one specific community. So I chose this one as my previous employment in the one that I know so well. And so let's dive in, learning about the customs and traditions. So in Eudora, the big one that came up is, I remember the community often saying, we want big opportunities for our students. We want them to have the same opportunities as anyone in any large city would have access to. But something they valued is still that small town feel. So really feeling close, intimate, the families know all the other families. And so that was something that they thought was really valuable in Eudora. Also, one town, one school. In several years ago now, there was a bond issue wanting to transition, and the question came up, do we want two schools, elementary, or one large one? And so it was a pretty clear vote that they wanted to keep it one town, one school. They thought two schools might divide the town up in ways that they didn't want. So again, kind of keeping that small town feel. Football is a big tradition and very much a priority in the community. And then also community and parental involvement. The school is a center hub and people want to be involved and support the school. There's a pride there within that. So if we take a look at some of the demographics, I noticed that I was able to pull some things from the Kansas State Department of Education website on the report card. So it's most up-to-date information. It serves grades pre-K through 5 currently for the elementary school. And if we look at some of this data, male to female is pretty much 50-50. Right now, it looks like there's a few more males in the system. When you look at the race, there are 4 main groups that are kind of rising to the top, white being predominant within that. And there is an interesting split between economically disadvantaged and non-economically disadvantaged. 70% are non, so middle to higher class, but about 30% are. So that's a unique dynamic to pay attention to as well. This one surprised me a little bit, students with disabilities versus students without disabilities. 75% without and 24, almost 25% are. I thought that was higher than I would have anticipated it to be. When we think about communication, we know that that's very important. And so social media is definitely the biggest one that is taking over right now. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, channels for all of those. Broadcast media, the website has some things there. Live is the games, especially in this pandemic time, trying to get things live so people can see what's going on without actually physically being there. And then the local channel news would be Lawrence as well. And then if I was researching a little bit and searching around, I definitely know that the high school and the middle school are using these more than the elementary, but the primary one for elementary is the Facebook. And so those would seem to be the top two spots to go to get information, with the exception of sports. That seems to be more from the website. Traffic seems to be going there. The community groups that are around, and I loved this quote from the article we were given. Haven and Hampton said, when families, schools, and community institutions collectively agree upon their goals and decide how to reach them, everyone benefits. And right away, that stood out to me as something unique in Eudora. Like I had said before, schools are really a focus in the community, and everyone really wraps around that to try to make that great. And so some groups that stand out are the PTO, very active PTO at all 3 buildings, and especially at the elementary. There's a Eudora Foundations committee and group that formed several years ago, and they raise money and provide grants to teachers in school to pour all of that money right back into the schools that teachers can apply for. Pretty amazing foundation, actually. Church groups, several church-based groups that like to support the community and the schools. And then definitely business supporters, a lot of sponsorships. You'll see the sports gear and school gear throughout the community and embedded within that. Leadership, if I looked at it within the school itself, definitely superintendent, there's school board members, just like any other, the principals, And something that's established is a district leadership team as well as school leadership teams. So that's kind of how the leadership flows within the school system. And within the community, I researched and knew the Chamber of Commerce is definitely within the community, a city council, and then several various business leaders are represented within this leadership role in the community. Economic conditions, again, going back to the demographics, we do know that there are just kind of a little bit of a variety, not too widespread. But what I thought was interesting is in this time of recession, a little bit within the economy due to the pandemic, Eudora is growing. And so they're building a very new called Nottingham Center, which is a shopping center right in the central part of town that they've already started to build and have the vision for. They're raising funds to build a new library, and they're getting close to that. So that's the expansion to that commercial area, new traffic flows and things within that. And then as I looked up real estate sites too, there are currently no homes for sale. And the maybe one or two, I shouldn't say no, but those are very high and competitive pricing, and they're going quickly. So that shows me that this area is growing and doing well, and people want to be a part of it. When I looked at the local government and the political structure, there's a mayor, city council, and city manager. So I would say that those are the top three within the local government that help support the community. Some social tensions, again, going back to a few years ago, that one town, one school, like I already spoke about, that was a tension. And there were some who saw it a little differently, but they had to really come together. And they were also wanting to prevent social tensions from happening. If two schools would have occurred where the boundaries were, it could have split them by economic status. And so that really could have caused a lot of tension. So to prevent that, that's one. As I looked back through like board minutes and things going on in the community, Facebook posts, COVID protocols, just probably like anywhere else, have created some social tensions around beliefs and values and how the school should be approaching that. One thing I did note is that the school was very open, honest, took a lot of feedback, didn't make decisions, off the cuff, took a lot of time and data, and was transparent on the process the whole way through. So the social tensions compared to other communities in the surrounding area were at a minimum, which is pretty cool. And so teacher selection, I wrote that down because sometimes I noticed I've gone on Facebook post, it would be between who got what teacher and what different things do they do in their classroom versus others. So for example, within fourth grade, this isn't one that I saw, but just for example, oh, you have this fourth grade teacher and they don't give homework. Oh, but this fourth grade teacher gives 2 hours worth. And so we're struggling with that. And so I've noticed again through social media that caused some types of tension and just the discrepancies between what happens inside the classroom. Here's a picture of their Nottingham Center. So again, previous community efforts and what's going on. So I kind of have a little timeline here. In 2008, there was a major bond, which is where the new elementary school came into place, upgrades to the early childhood center and high school. So really vamped the schools. There was a huge bond movement. And then also a new rec center and pool was established a couple of years later. New fire station took over an old previous building. And so really making it nice. And then coming soon will be this new shopping center. So really investing in the community within that. And then we look at the power structure within, again, we've got school board, we've got superintendent with the district leadership team, principal with the building leadership team, and the staff. And I added those in to show that they have really tight communication loops and it's not in silos or just little individuals doing it on their own. And at each level, there should be community input and engagement when implemented correctly. So there is an infrastructure for that. Whether it's occurring or not, to what degree, I can't speak to. I haven't been in the building for a few years, but there's the infrastructure established for that and still there. And multicultural issues. I had to dig a little deeper for this one. So there's very little resources offered in more than one language, like initially, but I know that there are accessible in Spanish on some of them, translating sites, and then also papers and translation. Isn't a big need, so I can understand why it's not there. There's definitely various religious groups that support the school and are welcome to come in and support the school. And then the curriculum teams, this was one that I kind of saw, is when they part of their selection process and implementation is looking for culturally relevant curriculums. Going through there. And public opinion, again, overall, there's a really sense of pride about the community. Again, overwhelmingly positive, and sharing out tweets and pictures, sports, activities, celebrations, student of the week, that types of things. The word that I hear a lot is from parents is like, oh, it's this hidden gem. From those that move outside into the community, that was a word that I heard over and over again. It's a hidden gem. And steps for improvement, maybe getting in front of communication, clarity, transparency, and frequency. So just continually putting that out there. So when a decision is made, they already have them back in. So there's just an ongoing thing to grow on to make sure that public opinion is where you want it to be. And so as I looked through the standard, definitely the correlation, this was a great opportunity for me to get to learn more about this community. The relevancy of it, it had me take that historical perspective and see the decisions that were being made along the way to get to where they are. It didn't just happen or occur. And so as I reflected over that, I think the main idea that rose to the top was core values. So understanding the community's core values and the school's core values, and are they congruent and do they support one another? I think that's where we get this piece of where Eudora is, where it is. And so that's something that I'd want to take away with me in any future situation, is taking a pause to really understand what those core values are. So I thank you for your time. Here are my references that I used to pull some of this information for this report. And thank you for your time.